all mitzvahs that a woman's obligated in, right?
Which includes
So if you'd ask a woman if she's Jewish, I think she would say yes. She'd probably tell you a few other things too for asking the question. But so avadim are more or less the same way. They also have to keep most of those mitzvahs.
We have, where we live, they have the people. They say, well, someone went and told the people that they can't make hot meals for us on Shabbos, so they make cold meals. Okay, they make cold meals, but they turn on lights, but they put on the television. They do all the other lifestyles for Shabbos, except they won't cook a meal.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so that's a different thing. Those are non-Jews who are not in any way Jewish. Here we talk about an Eved who actually has converted. An Eved converts. As a matter of fact, just as a side point, the Gemara says that an Eved can cheat. If an Eved is knowledgeable enough, he can cheat the system. When he goes in there and he goes into the mikvah, so he's supposed to undergo a gerus, a conversion, for the sake of being a slave. But if he knows what he's doing and he breaks free physically from his master, he can jump in there himself and do a conversion to be a regular full-fledged Jew, at which point he can't be a slave anymore.
Right.
It also means a full-fledged Jew.
Wow.
But if he doesn't want to be a slave and he knows the rule, he can actually cheat the whole system, and you kind of lost your money. So the Gemara says that some of the Amoram, some of the rabbis, times of the Gemara, were make sure to hold on to their slaves very, very tight when they went to the mikvah with them, so they wouldn't try and play that shtick, so they wouldn't break free and do things their own way. Because as long as he's holding him, he can't do that. He would have to appear physically free to do this. If someone's holding on to him, he can't claim that he's converting to be a free man. So they would hold on very tight. I guess they learned a lesson after a few runaway slaves. But anyway, there's a big emphasis here that slaves should rest on Shabbos, and the animals. And the pasuk goes on and it says Tesvav v'zacharta, and you shall remember ki eved hayisa be'eretz Mitzrayim, that you yourself were a slave in Mitzrayim. V'yotziacha Hashem alekecha misham, and Hashem your God brought you out of there. B'yad chazak v'torah with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Okay, and therefore tzivcha Hashem alekecha l'asar yom Shabbos. Therefore Hashem your God commanded you to observe the day of Shabbos. So there's a big emphasis on that the slave should rest, and therefore you should remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim. This is very different than the first set of Aseres Hadibros.
Right.
So let's talk about a couple things. Let's talk about the smaller things first. So first of all, the fact there's an emphasis on animals here. It talks about oxen and donkeys. So why did it do that? So the Ramban says that the one explanation is because it's tilling. What do you usually use an ox or a donkey for?
Plowing.
Plowing, right?
Plowing,
Yeah, they're used for working.
Because these people were going to be going into Eretz Yisrael.
That's right.
And they were going to have animals.
Right, but it specifically talks about these kinds of animals to show us that even work, which is for your livelihood, can't do on Shabbos. Because there are some times, for example, Chol HaMoed, where we don't engage in malacha, but if we do need to do it for parnasa purposes, then we may. So the Torah specifically points out that you should not work your donkey or your ox, because these animals are usually used for parnasa. And it shows you that if you can't use them, you can't do malacha on Shabbos, even for the sake of parnasa. Hashem will take care of it. We don't do any malacha on Shabbos, even if we think that it will cost us parnasa. Just parenthetically, I actually know I have a friend who became observant a few years ago, and you think this doesn't happen anymore, but he lost a good job because he wanted to keep Shabbos. He's working as an accountant somewhere, and they were not going to let him off the hook, and so he resigned from the job. So there are still people out there who are giving up their jobs for Shabbos. Pretty incredible in this day and age. This was in 2017, I think. So
My understanding though is that if you have cows or goats, you're actually supposed to milk them.
So that's for a different reason. That is in order they don't suffer. And actually, normally we don't really use the milk after that.
Okay.
Otherwise you'll become a joke. You'll be milking them to alleviate their pain, and you'd be secretly,
Okay,
make the whole business. So it's only for that purpose. Correct. Yeah, that is true.
There was a case that I read of. There was a woman who was a broadcaster. She was a broadcaster the weather and she was making seven-figure income, and she became from, and she decided that she couldn't be on the news with her hair uncovered.
Right.
So she put on a wig, and they fired her.
Huh.
Really?
So
They-
she
they
lost
fired
her
her for putting on a
seven-figure
wig?
income
Oh my gosh.
because she wanted to become from.
That is something.
Hmm.
Okay, that's pretty incredible. Okay, so now to focus on another detail here. Why the emphasis on the slaves? So there are several perushim that I saw on this, but we don't have time for all of them. So we'll just discuss one or maybe two. The Ramban and the Rambam, the Ramban's a little different, but the basic idea is they say that there are two different aspects of Shabbos. There's an aspect of Shabbos which is to commemorate Maaseh Bereshis, the creation of the world, and that's more, if you noticed, that's more emphasized here or there in Yisro. Where is that more emphasized? The creation of the world. Where do you see more of that? Here or back there?
In Israel, it says he says
That's right. The emphasis on creation of the world is more there. Here, there's no direct reference to it at all. No direct reference to the fact that Shabbos has anything to do with creation of the world.
You mean in Israel?
Again,
You mean in Israel?
in Israel.
Israel, the part of the.
Oh yes. So here in Parshas V'eschanan,
Yeah.
there's really no
emphasis.
there's
In
no-
Yitro, yes.
right.
Yitro,
In
yes.
Yisro, there's a lot of this.
on creation.
It talks about the fact that Shabbos is because Hashem created the world in 6 days, rested on the seventh. But here,
They're doing this Hanan, not in Israel.
right, I'm showing how how they look different.
Yeah.
But here in Parshas V'eschanan, the Torah doesn't even talk about it.
Why not?
Why not? Because it's coming to tell us about a different part of Shabbos. And that is not a different part of Shabbos. It's all the same Shabbos, but a different viewpoint, a different aspect, a different look at Shabbos.
But this point is more important than in Vice Hanan.
They're both important.
But it's not that mentioned about the creation.
Because it
of the
already
world.
mentioned it there, and it's assuming that.
But have to be mentioned in this part, and not in Israel.
What is it mentioned here?
Because Israel was a goy.
So it wasn't mentioned to Yisro. In Parshas Yisro, the 10 Commandments were given to the Jewish people at Har Sinai. Here, Moshe repeats them 40 years later, but it wasn't told to Yisro. That's just the name of the parsha.
I see.
I'm just using that as the name of the parsha. Yes, good point. Yeah, I'm not saying it was given to Yisro. Correct. But I'm just using it as the name for the parsha. Good point. Thank you for pointing that out. So here, though, it emphasizes Mitzrayim, the Exodus, the leaving, the Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the Ramban explains, really puts the two together. He says that they both complement each other. Both of them help. Each one helps out the other, because Shabbos, the fact that Hashem created the world, shows. Well, Shabbos is supposed to remind us that Hashem created the world.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another aspect, which is that Hashem continues to run the world. Right? There are people out there who believe that God created the world, but he turned his back.
Rest.
Right? But Yetzias Mitzrayim shows that Hashem didn't just create the world, he manages it. He didn't give up on it. He runs it, he micromanages it when he needs to. Right? He actually always micromanages it, but he doesn't always show us that he's doing it. There he showed us. He was involved with individual people. Right? There was a competition, if you will, between Paro, king of Mitzrayim, and God. Right? Now, obviously, it wasn't much of a competition, but Hashem took an interest in what Paro was doing. He didn't just, who cares? So Yetzias Mitzrayim shows us that, and the second part of right, and each one helps the other. Shabbos reminds us of Yetzias Mitzrayim because it's only because Hashem created the world that there was Yetzias Mitzrayim. Right, that shows us the force that was behind Yetzias Mitzrayim, and Yetzias Mitzrayim reminds us of Shabbos, of Bereshis, because that shows us a proof that Hashem is really there running the world. So the two work together. They work together. Therefore, having a servant rest on Shabbos reminds us of the fact that we're free today, and what we used to be in Mitzrayim, right? And that the only reason we're not in Mitzrayim is because Hashem took us out there, and that Hashem created and actively manages the world. That is why you have these two different aspects. They're both true, but each one complements the other. Yetzias Mitzrayim teaches about Shabbos, and Shabbos teaches about Yetzias Mitzrayim. And that is why in Kiddush, we mention both. We say Zecher L'Maaseh Bereishis, that Shabbos commemorates the creation of the world. And it also commemorates, we say, Zecher L'Yetzias Mitzrayim. It also commemorates the Exodus, because it's really both. Shabbos, Yetzias Mitzrayim, and Bereishis are linked. Linked in many ways, but this is right. As a matter of fact, Chazal tell us that, again, as we said, the Aseres HaDibros were all said in one shot. And as a matter of fact, the words Shamar and Zachar were said at the same time by Hashem. And the Ramban says that the Jewish people only were able to hear Zachar. They didn't even hear the word Shamar. They heard it, but they didn't understand it. And therefore Moshe explained to them in Veschanan what it was that they heard. Because they're two separate aspects: the remembering and the guarding it. Okay, I'm going to try and do a very quick summary. No summary today. Sorry, we don't have time. All right, we're going to stop here for today. Summary.
Thank you.
Yeah, no summary today. Thank you for coming. See you back.